Welcome back to the Barkha Cholani channel. Today is the day of continuing to build emotional muscle. If you remember, in my last episode, I spoke about cognitions and said that I would delineate a little more as we went along. Today, I'm going to talk about the importance of cognitions because, as I again explained in my last episode, in simple layman's language, cognition is nothing but the ability to think. And how do we think? We think in three ways. We think in language. We constantly talk to ourselves all the time in words, which are often so quick that we are not even aware that we are having internal conversations with ourselves. We talk in incomplete sentences, and we often talk in shorthand, also known as thought shorthand. That is one method of thinking. Then I said that we are beautiful artists. We paint vivid, extremely vivacious pictures in our head, but we also have an unfortunate ability to paint dull and dreary pictures. And that reminds me of Mark Twain, the great writer, who said, "My life is full of terrible misfortunes which never happen." What did he mean? Our imagination sometimes gets the better of us, and we really create misery for ourselves by imagining the worst and all the kinds of dull, dreary pictures that go around in our head. And I also added that we are sign symbol creatures. If you remember, in my last episode, I gave the example of the tiger entering the studio, and it evoked anxiety. But the anxiety was created by the cognition. My thoughts, oh gosh, what a lucky escape. What if he comes again the second time? Will I be second time lucky? Was the language or the sentence I spoke to myself. Then I imagined myself being completely shredded and completely mauled by the tiger. And then, of course, I imagined myself finally in a casket. All these three cognitions or kinds of thinking were the culprit to my anxiety. There can never be anxiety or any emotion for that matter without cognition. But when do we start developing cognitions? It was believed that infants had no ability to have cognition until their language developed. But new studies have shown that an infant actually starts having cognitions right from the time he was born. He begins to imagine, process information, use data from surrounding, and begins to develop imagery or imagination. Let me exemplify. When a newborn baby sees a person, most probably his mother, feeding him when he is hungry, when he cries, bathing, swaddling, cuddling, and caring for him, an image or a perception of that person as the caretaker begins to form in the child's mind. He begins to associate the emotion of warmth, care, and consideration to this person. This association develops an imagery of warmth, care, and concern for him because of what the mother does. So, an infant as young as 0 years old has already developed the process of cognition through imagination. As the infant grows, cognition develops further, where language comes in, symbolic thinking comes in, memory, perception, etc., etc. But for simple lay people like us, it is important to know that at the basis of every emotion there has to be a cognition. Now, cognition forms the fulcrum not only of emotionality in terms of how we feel, but it also is the basis of how we act. As you think, so you feel. As you feel, so you do. So every action is also precipitated by what we think. There are new age ideas like NLP and coaching, which has tried to help people by substituting thinking. But it's not as easy as that. All thinking is a result of a certain ideation. In fact, why do people think? People think because they have certain ideas of life, because they have certain philosophies, because they have certain assumptions, worldviews, or in simple language, they have a belief system. In fact, the minute I am able to detect a person's thinking, I have a gateway to his philosophical ideation or his belief system. NLP just expects you to replace thinking. Replacing thinking is too superficial because before you know it, the old thoughts will come creeping back. Then of course you have another new age phenomenon called mindfulness, where people believe that if they teach us to be mindful, we will be able to manage our emotions. It is partly true because if you do not recognize how you think, how are you going to be able to change what you think? So NLP, mindfulness coaching are paying too superficial attention. They're only trying to attack the problem at the thinking level. But we know that cognition or thinking has a deep root. From where does it spring? It springs from attitudes, from ideas, from philosophies of life, from outlook, or in simple words, from the beliefs or the belief systems that human beings are unfortunately subscribing to. How do we develop beliefs? More of that in my next episode of Continuing to Build Emotional Muscle. Thank you for watching the Varkha Cholani channel. If you like what you hear, please do hit the like button and continue to share my videos. Till then, it's goodbye.